Hello. In today's lecture, we will discuss about tissue and organs. Basically, we know that cell is the fundamental unit of all living beings, and if some of the cells together they work for a particular function, then we call that tissue. So now in our body, in human body, we have multiple number of tissues, different types of tissues are also there, and one by one we will go through that in this today's lecture. So as per the definition, we know this human tissue is a collection of similar cells working together to perform a single or to perform a particular task. They are working together to perform a specific physiological function, and all living things are composed of cells, and cell form tissues as we have discussed in the last class. Then these tissues form organs, and the organ combines into organ systems. Then different organ system, they give rise to your organism. So in this manner, the cell is the basic or fundamental building block. Then some of the cells working together are tissues. Then different types of tissues are there. They are working for a particular physiological activity, that is your organ, and different organs along with different peripheral systems, they constitutes the organ system, and the different organ system makes the whole organism. The tissue perform basic tasks and organ perform more complex functions need for life. So as definition, a collection of cells having similar structure and performing a common function is known as tissue. And cells in a tissue may not be identical, but collectively carry out specialized roles. The basic difference, if we want to differentiate between a tissue and organ, we can select different features like composition, and under this composition, tissue can be considered as a group of similar cells, but organ, it is a group of many tissues. Then another feature from functionality or function, tissue functions are simpler and specialized, but organ functionality is complex and multiple. Similarly, whenever the tissue wants to repair, it can repair by regeneration, or once the cellular level has been repaired, then the tissue automatically repair itself. Similarly, in organ, whenever as the constituents of this organ is a tissue, so whenever the tissue has been repaired, then automatically the organ it also repaired. So the examples of tissue, as we know that different types of tissues are there, like muscle tissues, nerve tissues, epithelial tissues, and so on. And organs, heart, skin, stomach, eye, all these are organs. Then primarily in a human being, we have 4 different types of tissues. One you can mark here, the epithelial tissue, which forms different lining of the body surface. Inside means internal or external. Similarly, we have connective tissue. They gives support and structural building blocks. Similarly, we have muscle tissues and also nerve tissues. So these muscle tissues, they are also classified into 3 different categories, like your cardiac muscles, skeletal muscles, smooth muscles. We will discuss in the next slides. Then nerve tissue is also, it includes your brain and gray matter, white matter, then spinal cord and all other peripheral nerves. Similarly, epithelial tissue is basically the lining of GI tract, or we call that gastrointestinal tract, and other hollow organs. And skin is also one, the surface of the skin is also, it is one example of epithelial tissue. Similarly, connective tissue, they have also bones, cartilages, tendons, ligaments, fat and other soft padding tissues. So, we will see one by one what are the different types of tissues and what are their functionalities and importance. First of all, we must see one muscular tissue. Basically, these muscular tissues are specialized for contraction and movement. They gives us means used in your locomotive system. This muscular tissue, they are of three types. Here you can mark in this figure, you can mark this muscular system or tissue. It can be categorized into three different types. First one is a skeletal muscle, another one is a smooth muscle, and third one is cardiac muscles. So you can mark these skeletal muscles is also known as a voluntary muscles, and these muscles are helpful in for movement or motion in our body. They are actually under our control. We can control them according to our wish. And the examples we can see: biceps, tricep, deltoids. These muscles, they contract and relax when we need it. But the smooth muscles, they are involuntary in nature. Involuntary means their movement, their contraction, those are not under our control. So in different organs, we have this type of smooth muscles. Like in our stomach, intestine, we have this type of smooth muscles because the peristalsis process, which is useful, which actually helping in the digestion process, is also occurs due to this type of involuntary muscles. It is not under our control. So you can mark the linings of this stomach and intestine, they contains this type of, means those stomach and intestine, not lining, those stomach and intestine, they are built up of this type of smooth muscles. Another smooth muscle or special type of smooth muscle is a cardiac muscle. This cardiac muscle is also coming under involuntary type. It makes the heart walls. So these heart walls are made up of cardiac muscles, and you mark these cardiac muscles are so strong, and they are work starting from the baby to the end of the life. So it is always working. It is not under our control. So it is involuntary. Next, coming to the nervous tissue. This nervous tissue actually, they are helpful in transmitting the signals, electrical signals or impulses throughout our body, and they are very much important from biomedical point of view. So this specialized for communication and coordination. This type of tissues, they are specialized for the communication and coordination. You can mark their components are neurons, which conduct the electrical impulses, and neuroglia, which actually support and nourish these neurons. So in this picture you can mark here this yellow color cell body, it is of neurons. Then we have some other entities you can find here, like your oligodendrocytes. Then we have here microglial cells. So these cells are supporting cells, or they nourish the neurons. Examples of these nerve tissues are brain, spinal cord, nerves, different peripheral nerves. So the another types of tissue is epithelial tissue. As we have already discussed, this epithelial tissue forms the lining of internal and external organs. Like skin, the outer surface of the skin is also an epithelial tissue. It covers body surface and lines cavities. Then it functions to protect the organ from external environment. It can secrete and absorb, and excretion helps in excretion process. So these examples of this epithelial tissue are skin, lining of GI tract, lining of blood vessels. So all these are coming under epithelial tissue. So this epithelial tissue we can mark. It can be up to types, simple and stratified. This simple you mark one layer, and stratified means it is there are multiple layers of this type of simple aqueous epithelium. So we have different shape. Depending upon their shape, they are divided into squamous, cuboidal and columnar. This columnar you can have simple columnar epithelium. This is the cell body nucleus, and over that we have some cilia like structure. So then if they are stacked up together, means one layer is present above another, this is your stratified columnar epithelium. So in some cases the nucleus is not present at a particular layer, they are at different levels. So this is your pseudo stratified. It looks like stratified, but they are actually simple, coming under this simple or one layer. They are actually one layer. So these are different types of epithelial tissues. Remember, this epithelial tissue, they forms the lining of internal and external organs. Then next is connective tissue. Under this connective tissue, you mark it. This connects structures. It provides framework and supports. And fewer cells. There are fewer cells. Abundant extracellular matrix means inside those tissues much extracellular fluid are there. They are of different types, like loose or adipose tissue. They are sometimes they are dense, we call that tendons, cartilages, bones and bloods. So all these are coming under connective tissue. So here you can mark this connective tissues that surrounds the or encloses the nerves. So this is your epineurium, then here perineurium and endoneurium. So inside this endoneurium, this is the internal covering of these individual neurons, or this is your one cell body or nerve. So this nerve contains myelin sheath and axon. So they are all these bundles of nerves, they are covered with epineurium. So this is also coming under connective tissue. So we move to the next slide. We will see some of the in details about some of these tissues. So now this microscopic structure differs between tissue types. So to study those different types of tissue and their structures, we can use different stains and microscopy for tissue identification. So the study of this different types of tissue is known as histology. Tissue rarely work alone. Organs are composite of several tissues. And for example, the heart, that muscle tissue, heart, if we consider heart, it is one organ, then heart consists of multiple different types of or multiple tissues. One of them is muscle tissue. Among them we have a muscle tissue, For contraction, we have connective tissue like valves, we have nerve tissue like rhythmic control. So, means these three different types of or multiple number types of tissues, they constitutes the heart. This is your organ. Similarly, if you consider this as skin, this is the which is a largest organ of human. This is skin composed of all major tissue types, because you mark it has three layers: epidermis, dermis and hypodermis. The epidermis, it is epithelial tissue. The dermis is one example of connective tissue, and hypodermis, it is your subcutaneous, it mainly connective and adipose tissue. So these three different layers are there in our skin. So the skin can be of different, means if we consider this is one organ, then this organ is also consisting of different types of tissues. And you mark here in this case, the dermis made up of dense irregular connective tissues that contains blood vessels, hair follicles, sweat glands and other structures. Beneath the dermis lies the hypodermis, which is composed of mainly loose connective tissue and fatty tissues. So three different tissues, they constitute this skin, our skin. So that is most important. The function of this skin is to protect it, to capture the sensation, to regulate the temperature. They are the main functionality of our skin. Then come to the connective tissue proper, because the connective tissue, it is also divided into different categories. One of them is connective tissue proper. So under that you will find they are also called fibrous connective tissue, because as we have already discussed, this connective tissue, they connect, they are just giving support and connections. So including the tissues that provide support, strength, elasticity to various organs and parts of the body. It composed of cell embedded in an abundant extracellular matrix containing protein fibers such as collagen and elastin. These are giving this connective tissue flexibility and elasticity. So they are also important. They contains a variety of cell types in this connective tissue proper. They contains different types of cells like fibroblasts, macrophages, mast cells and adipocytes. The extracellular matrix consists of ground substance and fibers. Provides this connective tissue proper, they provides physical support, protection and connects tissues and organs. They has good vascular supply, allowing it to repair and respond to injury. So under this connective tissue proper, they can be divided into different categories. One of them is loose connective tissue, which we know also call areolar tissue. They contains loosely arranged collagen and elastic fibers, which is make that flexible. Functions as cushioning and flexibility between tissue and organs. So basically this loose connective tissue is present in our body and they give us cushioning and flexibility. Found beneath epithelial tissue and surrounds blood vessels, nerve and organs, so that they can absorb any shock or any types of your deterioration. Next type of connective tissue proper is dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue contains a higher density of collagen and fibers and is further subdivided. They are of dense regular connective tissue which contains fiber arranged in parallel. They provide strength, strong tensile strength in one direction only. Mark one point. The dense regular connective tissue, they provides strong tensile strength in one direction only. Opposite direction they will not work. Found in tendons and ligaments. As we know, these tendons and ligaments, tendons they connect or they attach bone to muscles, and ligaments they attach bone to bone. So both ligament and tendons, they are connective tissue made up of collagens. So here you can mark in the knee joint at the at this point you have both ligaments and tendons. Then that dense connective tissue proper is another type, is dense irregular connective tissue. They also contains fibers, but they are not arranged parallelly. They are irregularly arranged in multiple directions. So provide strength in multiple directions, unlike the case of your regular connective tissue. Found in dermis of skin and organ capsules. So next one is skeletal tissue. We know that skeleton is made up of bone, cartilages, and these are coming under this skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue primarily refers to bone tissue, a specialized connective tissue that form the rigid framework of the body. It provides structural supports, protects internal organs, facilitates movement in conjunction with muscles, and serve as a reservoir of minerals. So whenever in your exam they ask you what is the functionality of this skeletal tissue, then you can refer to this point. Composed of osteocytes, the skeletal tissue they composed of osteocytes, and that those osteocyte cells they are embedded in a mineralized extracellular matrix which is rich in calcium, phosphate and collagen fibers. So that means those extracellular matrix inside which these osteocytes are embedded, that is rich in calcium, phosphate and collagen. Organized into two types. This skeletal tissue they can be organized into two types. One is compact bone. They are dense outer layer with tightly packed osteons, and spongy bones. Those are porous inner layers and trabecule arranged along stress line for strength. So we will again discuss these different types of bones, cartilages, joints in our skeletal system. Bone cell include osteoblasts. Osteoblast means bone forming process. Osteoclast means bone reserving process, means removal of old bone cells, that is your osteoclast, and osteocytes that are mature bone cell maintaining matrix. The functionality of skeletal tissue, it provides mechanical support and shape to the body. It protects vital organ such as brain and heart, spinal cord. You know everything is covered inside one protecting shield of skeleton. The facilitates movement by serving as attachment point for skeletal muscles via tendons, and it stores important minerals like calcium and phosphorus inside them. Now coming to another important connective tissue, that is your fluid connective tissue. Basically, fluid connective tissue is of two types, blood and lymph. So fluid connective tissue refers to specialized connective tissue in which the extracellular matrix is liquid. The primary type of fluid connective tissue are two types, one is blood and lymph in human being. So blood is a vital transport medium. We know that it transports waste materials, it transports minerals, it transports enzymes, it transports hormones. So basically they are vital transport medium consisting of formed elements suspended in a liquid matrix called plasma. The plasma is actually a pale yellow fluid consisting of mainly of water. They contains electrolytes, different types of ions, nutrients, hormones and waste products generated due to metabolism. Similarly, formed elements inside the blood, they are red blood cells or red blood corpuscles. We can call it as erythrocytes, white blood corpuscles, or we call that leukocytes, and platelets or thrombocytes. They transport oxygen and carbon dioxide via erythrocyte or RBC. We know this RBC. And they are helpful for exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the circulatory system in between heart and lungs. They carry nutrients, hormones and metabolic wastes. They play a crucial role in immune defense via leukocytes. So these are the important functions of fluid connective tissue in human being. They also facilitates clotting to prevent the blood loss via platelets. They also contains the collagen or this different types of blood clotting agents in themselves. Fibrinogen. So now this is your lymph. In lymph is a clear colorless fluid derived from interstitial fluid that surrounds tissue cells. It circulates through the lymphatic system and plays an important role in immunofunction and fluid balance. They contains lymphocytes, which actually acts as one defense system to our body, which are key to the body's adaptive immune response. Then returns excess interstitial fluid to bloodstream, maintaining fluid homeostasis, and transports fat absorbed from the digestive system. The basic building blocks or the basic constituents or functionality of this lymph are these three. Now we will move to next tissue, that is your nervous tissue, which is important because they are generating most of the biopotentials which are crucial to collect and connect the different types of through the sensor we collect these signals, and they can act as different biomarkers and to generate or to operate or design different types of equipments or devices for the well-being of this healthcare industry. The nervous tissue is main component of the nervous system, responsible for coordinating, controlling the body activity by transmitting electrical impulses. You mark, we are always interested to find out or to collect electrical impulse, or we can call it as biopotential. This biopotential, they are collected and they are processed. It is found primarily in the brain and spinal cord. We call that central nervous system, and peripheral nervous system, that is coming under your peripheral nervous system, PNS. The nervous tissue consists of mainly two cell types. One is neurons, other one is neuroglia or glial cells. Basically, as we have previously discussed, these neurons or nerve cells, they are specialized cells that conduct electrical impulses. A typical neuron consists of a cell body or soma. Dendrite receives signals and an axon that transmits signal. So basic structure of one neuron consists of soma, dendrite and axon. Then neuroglial or glial cell, they support these neurons that provides nutrition by providing nutrition, protection and insulation through myelinations and remove waste materials. Types include astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, microglia in CNS, means central nervous system, and Schwann cells and satellite cells in peripheral nervous system. So, different types of, you can mark here, we have here 5 different types of glial cell has been written. 3 under are astrocytes, oligodendrocytes and microglia is coming under central nervous system, nerve cells of central nervous system, and Schwann cells and satellite cells, they are associated with the nerve cells of your peripheral nervous system. So, in this case, in this figure, you can clearly mark the nerve cell consists of this dendrite, axon terminals, and this axon is covered with this myelin sheath, and these nodes are there. We call these nodes of Ranvier. We have nucleus and cell body or soma. The main function of these neural cells, they are neurons, they are signal transmission. Neurons generate and propagate nerve impulses, enabling rapid communication within the body. Integration and control, they processes sensory inputs and motor outputs to regulate bodily function and responses very quickly. Support and protection, glial cell provide metabolic support and immune defense for neurons. Here you find different glial cells are attached to the cell body or axon. Schwann cells is present. We have discussed that Schwann cells are the part of your peripheral nervous system. Similarly, oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, these are the parts of central nervous system. Another important function of this nervous tissue, they are memory and cognition. Certain neurons supports learning, memory storage and higher brain functionalities. So, these things we will study in details in the chapter your EEG, electroencephalogram. Then the nervous system division, they are structurally divided into central nervous system, which includes your brain and spinal cord, and they are protected by the skull and your vertebral column. And this peripheral nervous system, which comprises all nerve outside the central nervous system. Functionally, it includes sensory division, or we call that we can categorize these 2 different types of nerve cells. One is sensory or afferent nerves that transmit sensory signal from the receptor to the central nervous systems, and motor or efferent division that conduct impulses from central nervous system to effectors, further divided into somatic, that means voluntary, autonomic, which is involuntary nervous system. So, actually we will discuss these things, autonomic nervous system, somatic nervous system, in future classes. So, we reach at the end of this presentation. Thank you.